Welcome to the TIATA, Time Investigation and Travel Agency. Our company, our mission, and most importantly, our results, strive to prove the existence of alternate times that remain parallel to that of our own.
The Time Investigation and Travel Agency, also known as the TIATA, first appeared under the Instagram page by the name of Sinisterscrbbles. The TIATA is an organization that claims to strive to prove the existence of alternative times to that of our own. Yet, they have been documented to deal with unknown life forms and have constantly disregarded human life. But what exactly are they, and what are their intentions? The only possible way for us to understand their motives is through a thorough investigation. In order to piece together this puzzle, we must first venture out to this account's first post. I recommend you get comfortable, because this is going to be a long one. Here is when we first stumble upon a journal with 30 entries, ranging from October 1st to October 31st of 2013. The entries follow a teen by the name of Thomas, who is stalked by unknown beings that have something in store for him. Thomas then proceeds to write multiple entries with unsettling pictures to match. By reading through these entries, we come to clearly understand the underlying horror that this world entails. The first entry was posted on October 1st, 2013. It reads as follows. I don't know where else to post this, so I guess I'll have it here, wherever this ends up. I don't know. Whether it be in some forum or creepy Instagram page is yet to be determined. All I know is that some people are following me. I was walking my dog out today, as per usual. Appropriately, the field was foggy, though much more foggy than usual. It was actually very unsettling. It wasn't until they started coming closer did I notice them. Larger men, or possibly women, practically hovering above ground towards me. At least that's what it looked like. I got out of there before I heard him say anything, and I'm not looking back. They persisted for a while, but later vanished into the fog. I think I can still hear them. Stay tuned for updates. I don't think they'll be leaving me alone anytime soon. Already we can see that something mysterious has taken hold of Thomas's life. His connection with the organization is still unclear. Let's proceed. I tossed and turned last night. Those voices, that creepy chanting, those robe-wearing weirdos. I don't know anymore. I woke up to a beautiful sunrise, though I think my paranoia is starting to best me. I only see silhouettes now instead of trees. I can't tell if it's just me seeing things anymore, or if I came across something I shouldn't have. I found a pair of bare footsteps traced in mud on my stoop last night. I think it goes without saying that they don't belong to me. I'll keep these updated, wherever it goes. Even I can't say. Every corner I turn, ever since yesterday, I swear something has been following me. I don't know what I brought home. Something isn't right anymore. I can't trust my house with the lights on. Whatever followed me home, it's been following me everywhere. I was under the impression they were just people. Weirdos that just figured October 1st would be the perfect time to go out and get a laugh from others who they happen to spook. That isn't the case. I've been out of the house for a couple of hours now, and my buddy Terry has been trying to take my mind off of everything. He thinks I'm just going through a lot of stress. But surely he knows something that I don't. He hasn't been the same. And I can't exactly explain why. Call me crazy, but I feel like I saw one of those stupid robes in one of his open closets. He laughed it off, but he has yet to open it when I asked him several times for him to do so. This can't be a prank. This feels all too real. How will I explain to him what I saw in my garage last night? In the third entry, we are introduced to a friend of Thomas, named Terry, who seems to be hiding something from his friend. Me and Terry got into a fight last night about the robes I saw in his closet. He still hasn't given me a proper explanation. I've begun to understand that this isn't some joke anymore. And I'm getting the impression this guy, who I considered a great friend, isn't some, I don't know, damn cult or something. He played innocent, and yet I don't see how he can keep up the act. We both saw something at once. It just stood out there in the backyard, looking at us. It had so many legs, so many unnatural features. It left me speechless. It felt like Terry was trying to pretend it wasn't there, and that's when we got into it. I'm only 4 days into this month, and I'm already about to lose my mind. My parents think I haven't gotten enough rest. My friends, what few remaining I even have, all either think I'm high or think I'm making this up for the sake of getting a rise out of them. I have nowhere else to turn. Every time I close my eyes, I still see them. What I see, I can't describe. It doesn't make any sense. I want to say it's demonic, but this feels like something more than that. This is something more than that. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. At this point in the journey, we clearly see a distressed Thomas starting to doubt his own sanity, making us eager to know what is to come. He is slowly being driven to a corner by an unknown force. I spent the night at my grandparents' house. For once, I thought I managed to get away from whatever I had been going through. I hadn't seen anything for at least 10 hours or so, not counting the hours of the night I slept, which were undisturbed and just fine. That was until I heard the closet door open. I assumed maybe it was already cracked and the draft pushed it. But before I even had a chance to glance, I knew what it was. Several long minutes of me frantically trying to explain my panic attack to the cops later. They didn't find anybody in the house, except for the same pair of bare footsteps from before, but this time leading to the back door. I felt bad for putting them through this, but it feels as though I almost don't have a choice. Tomorrow morning, I'm coming for Terry. I'm demanding answers. Now, the next entry was actually on October 5th. This entry seems to have been made by a third party, not Thomas nor his friends, but that of the entity stalking him. The writing is hard to read, but it is stated that Thomas doesn't understand. As to what that is still unknown. Let's proceed. I had intentions of confronting Terry again today, but instead, I've been having difficulties with my devices. They don't seem to forward anything I post, and when they do, it comes up in garbled text that is barely even legible. On my way through town, I swore I saw something sitting at the other end of the sidewalk. It was just there. It didn't move, blink, or make any noise. I felt like charging the thing, but I had a gut feeling that it wouldn't be my best option. Someone was approaching it, so I shouted at them to look out. They didn't seem to acknowledge what was there, and looked at me like I was some sort of psychopath. I just don't understand. I can see these things. I know at least someone out there can see them too. Why do they only show up in photographs to specific people? Am I missing something here? This entry tells us that these beings either have complete control over who can see them, or maybe Thomas might be losing it in the end. Alyssa said she saw something today. As much as I wanted to tell her not to tell me in fear of what it was, curiosity got a hold of me, and apparently it was directly outside our house. Being my stepsister, and having only lived with me for just under a year, she wasn't sure how I'd take what in her mind was a ridiculous claim. To her surprise, I naturally believed her, and we both stayed inside, wanting nothing to do with what was out there. It felt like forever before we got even a hint of safety again. I can't be suffering from delusions if others are experiencing them with me, right? Now we are made aware of the fact that Thomas might actually not be crazy after all. We are also introduced to his stepsister, who is also able to see these beings. Now the real question would be, is it limited to just them? On October 10, 2013, there was a journal entry of the third party once again. This time, the creature wrote that it would claim Thomas and everything about him. Why is Thomas so special that he's getting so much attention from otherworldly beings? What pact did you make? Terry confessed to me finally. With hesitation in his voice, he told me he knew things, bad things. I wasn't sure what he meant, so I made him elaborate as best as he could without losing it. This was the first time since all of this started that a part of me felt sorry for him. He didn't seem as malicious anymore, though he did explain to me that he and my stepsister had similar encounters with strange men in robes. When asked, again, what that thing was in his room, he explained to me that he managed to remove it from one of his attackers, and after asking him what he saw beneath, he froze completely and proceeded to point towards the bedroom door, which opened from behind me. What was inside, we couldn't fully tell, but we understood it definitely wasn't human. Whether or not he was telling the truth didn't matter to me at that moment. All that mattered was that I needed to get the hell out of there. Now the prime focus has shifted from finding out what's happening to survival. It is clear that something else is at play here, though I am wondering how it is that Terry even managed to steal a robe from an otherworldly being. My bedroom door has creaked open on its own last night. With everything going on, it should come without a surprise that I was already wide awake. The thought of my own best friend possibly still having some sort of elaborate scheme or lie to me has still persisted. My own family, close and distant alike, are all severely worried for me. Only Alyssa believes me, and that's purely because she herself has encountered one of these things. I managed to take some notes about everything going on before I tried to get some shut-eye. Despite this, I just couldn't relax. I tossed and turned until I found myself staring face to face with a pair of eyes in the corner of the room. I froze. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. If I die tonight, I hope to God this message, thread, whatever you want to call this, gets passed on somewhere. It's still staring at me, and I can't muster anything out. May God, something, anything, save me. I opened my front door this morning and lost it. Instead of being greeted with the outdoors, I was instead finding myself in a room of some sort. The walls were paved completely out of old bricks, and there was virtually no space to move freely. It was a hallway composed of nothing but dread and everlasting loneliness. It was ominous and cold. I could see my breath. I slammed my door shut, pinching, scratching, doing anything to myself to snap out of it. I was clearly dreaming, and yet I wasn't. I opened it again. There it was. That same narrow pathway that leads into an empty, dark abyss. I cried out to Alyssa, to anyone, and there was no response. I opened every door to the house. I screamed, I kicked, I shouted, I cried, and it all led me back to the same room. The windows were not an option either, as on the other side of them remained only darkness. No matter how desperately I tried to escape, the looming silhouette of something getting closer and closer every time I checked prevented me from wanting to look again. I'm starving, I'm hungry, and I can't feel my legs. I'm sleepless. I've been pacing these endless halls for what feels like an eternity. It's been more than a day since I found myself here, and I'm beginning to accept my fate. I can't feel anything. I'm completely dried of tears. And instead, my only solution is just to not do anything. Alyssa isn't coming. Terry's untrustworthy. No matter where I turn, there is no escape. There is nothing. They just won't stop following me. They don't do it to kill me. They do it purely to torment. That's all they want. That's all they need. Whatever sick satisfaction they get from this, I hope they're happy. I can't keep fighting anymore. They found my fear, and now I can't escape it. I've given up. I had to rest. I had to lay down and try to sleep. It's been 2 days now, and I still haven't found a way out of here. It's clear I'm not in my house anymore. Wherever I ended up, or however I got here, I may never know. Every second that I rest here, I can feel their eyes on mine, their bodies twist and break, and even in complete darkness, I can picture it vividly. I haven't had any source of nutrition or water, and I'm beginning to feel like this was nothing but an elaborate setup by Terry somehow, even if I have nothing but a mere assumption to go off of. I woke up to the sound of Alyssa calling me earlier today, only to find out it was one of those things mimicking her voice. I'm so close to just letting them have me. I don't deserve to suffer like this. Not anymore. The beings are showing signs of being able to affect reality. Not only can they make pocket dimensions, but they also seem to get a kick out of tormenting others. I actually like the idea of them being able to isolate a given space and keep you there for all eternity, or until you die of dehydration. It reminds me of SCP-106, also known as the Old Man. Let's carry on. This is Terry. Some of you may know me from all the ramblings courtesy of Thomas. To be truthful with you, I still don't understand entirely what's going on. What I do know, however, is that Thomas has been lying to you. He's currently missing, and the only thing here has been his phone. Search parties are still out looking for him, and apparently leading up to this, he's been making these documented reports of things following him. Is this true? Yes, I've seen it myself. What isn't true, however, is his ignorance to it all. It isn't I who has been involved in, quote, the damn cult stuff, but rather he has. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't from the start. Whether or not he's delusional or genuinely trying to frame me is beyond my comprehension. I have to go now, but in the meantime, we'll keep you updated and hopefully move past this once, if we ever find him. His intentions are unclear, and I'll further explain why I'm innocent once this all blows over. Until then, I think I just saw something stirring outside. Thomas has completely lost it. They found him, but he's been taken off somewhere. Where exactly, I have no idea. They still haven't fully disclosed where he has been for the past few days, as he apparently hasn't given them any information concerning his sudden disappearance. It's become clear that he had invested in something nobody, not even the strangers of people on this planet, would dare hunt for. That robe he supposedly found in my closet. There was no robe. I closed it because I thought he was making some kind of obscure joke I didn't understand. Everything that's been going on has been pinned on me. From the beginning, him and his stepsister Alyssa have been dabbling in cosmic horrors of something outside our region of understanding. This isn't no Ouija board they mess with, but something even beyond that. I'm fearful for their lives, but now I'm also fearful for mine. He has projected his fears and insecurities onto me, and as a result, I see the baseless shadows of something forming on my wall. I swear as each hour passes, it moves. It just stares at me with unblinking eyes. I think I even hear it call my name sometimes. After receiving a different perspective, it has become clear that we have been lied to. But for what reason? What could Thomas get out of lying to us? Also, Terry has given us a very important clue as to finding the identity of TIATA. We know now that a portal was made by the hands of Thomas and Alyssa. This portal brought them here. As to their reasoning, your guess is as good as mine. The end is near. I'm so sorry, Terry. I'm so sorry for trying to frame you. I'm sorry for acting innocent. I just wanted them to go away. I thought that if I pinned it on somebody else, they would stop. Instead, it only got worse. Please forgive me. Alyssa, please. I know you and I were the reason all of this started, but maybe we can reverse it. All I know is that I'm deeply sorry. I don't know if I can live with myself knowing I put you both in danger. They won't stop. They haven't, and never will stop. What did you do, Thomas? What led both you and your sister to open that portal? They haven't forgiven me. At least Terry hasn't. Alyssa's on the same boat as I am. Her involvement in what I dug up has left us both in a constant state of danger. I don't remember what happened to me when I disappeared. I don't remember what happened to me or anyone. All I know is that I am no longer myself. I had a very vivid dream last night. I hadn't slept in what feels like an eternity. And while this wasn't any better, it made me more anxious for the future than anything that had been going on in the present. I was standing on a bike trail of sorts, trees surrounding me on either side. An unnaturally tall, horribly disfigured being greeted me, and not only promised me through its unmoving mouth and shaky broken speech that I would see the true meaning of us. sometime in the distant days of next year. There was no way I could physically speak to this thing. I just stood there, not knowing what to do. I was as frozen in place as a statue. It told me that the others would too find out what was really going on. And before I even had a chance to try and wake myself up, it grabbed me by the throat, and I felt something touch me from beside my bed. It wasn't until I got a text from Alyssa that alerted me that the house had been broken into, and that she had been locked out of the house by something that dragged her out of there. I have a bad feeling that all of this isn't just mind games anymore. I feel like one, if not all of us, might die soon. They were in the final stages of entering the next reality. This one had already been corrupted. Those visions I had of me dying at sea weren't just dreams anymore. It had become clear that they were reality. At the very least, a possible reality. It feels as though they had already happened. Maybe somewhere else they did. My mistakes had cost me my life, just as much as it cost the life of Terry and Alyssa. 2014 is going to be the year where something big happens. I feel a part of me ache as I type this. Why do I feel like this is being read somewhere else? Where are these entries even being posted? I feel like there are eyes on me that shouldn't be. There is attention on me that isn't from where I had anticipated. Is anyone reading this from the future? What is my fate? Do the others suffer the same as mine? Yes, it is Thomas. And not just the future, but another timeline. At this point, it would seem Thomas is experiencing an existential crisis, not one that could be avoided either. He is becoming one of those things. I like the amount of emotion that Thomas demonstrates throughout the story. So much so, that I'm not sure if I'm conveying him properly. Let's continue. Now Terry has been trapped in these halls. Trapped here, with me. We aren't surviving together. Not anymore. I've embraced my internal struggle to be what I had become in the other reality. This new me has killed the future me. It isn't so bad. Not nearly as bad as I thought. He just won't accept it. Alyssa won't accept it. I just want them to understand. I want them to feel the accomplishment of being one of them, to hunt alongside them. I'm sorry for what I must do, but it isn't up to me anymore. My physical form will remain intact, at least for now. But for them I cannot say. They won't stop running away from me. I just want them to accept this gift. It's all I have. Thomas has given up resisting. Yet it would appear the story just got even more complicated. Finally, we are talking about different times and realities. Now this proves there has to be a connection with this world and the one the TIATA inhabits. Time travel is what they claim to research, after all. I don't expect you to believe me anymore. This is Thomas. The real Thomas. Whatever that thing was claiming to be me in search of Terry and Alyssa. Whoever it was, isn't me. At least not this current me. I came into contact with something again last night that let me see a glimpse into the future. So it claimed anyway. The skies were dark, nog cloudy, but rather nighttime if it had lasted forever. The streets were empty. Homes, what few remained, were boarded and torn apart beyond reasonable repair. Something bad happened, and the only thing I could see still present were the shadowy essence of the creatures of vague humanoid shape that would later twist into unfathomable multi-limbed tentacle nightmares. As scared of my mind as I was, it started to make sense to me. At least a little bit. Whatever that thing was that took control of my entry yesterday, I have a horrible feeling it wasn't completely lying. What if it was me, but after the events of the future? Have my friends been speaking to a future version of myself this entire time? And because we are the same person, theoretically speaking, we both have memories of it, therefore have no way of making the distinction. Where have I been this entire time? Was that endless void of halls a glimpse of where I am currently, and just don't realize it? Some real paradoxes are happening. But it makes sense if you think of what's going on as parallel worlds instead of just plain time travel. The portal they open gave both Thomas and Alyssa the ability to recall memories of other timelines, while Terry is able to recall memories because of Thomas projecting his guilt onto him. This is still just a simple analysis. Let's keep searching. It seems we are destined to die here. Whatever different time I dream about, it all ends the same. One dream, it happened in April, the next, June, and now, everything that has been happening in those dreams is happening here, and escalating beyond reasonable measure. An emergency broadcast was sent out the other day, detailing a possible warning of an unknown object having a chance of entering Earth's atmosphere. I wouldn't be at all surprised if these things had something to do with it. Another broadcast was sent out today, much later than the first from yesterday. Whatever is coming, I'm scared. Terry hasn't answered his phone, and Alyssa won't talk to me. She only sits in the corner of the room and stares at me, occasionally making some kind of unnatural croak that makes me uncomfortable. It's completely dark outside, and the power has gone in and out for the past couple of hours. Before the TV shut off unexpectedly, I saw the reflection of a face staring back at me. Its eyes made me jump. It's my other half. It's looking back at me. It's here. And despite how many times I tell it to leave, it refuses. It's bringing something to us. It's bringing what I saw from that future. Thomas is dead. At least, I assume he's dead. His phone was once again found, and yet again, he is missing. However, I found blood this time. A horrible, gruesome trail that leads out into the backyard. I called the police, as anybody would, and now there is another search party looking for him. Apparently these missing person reports have been more and more common, and leading up to all of this, the only thing I heard from him was the worry that history was going to repeat itself at a different time, and that it was sooner than we all thought. With everything we've experienced, I'm not surprised anymore. How I've even stayed at a level hand, I may never know. I just know that all I can do is to try to maintain myself, even with all these warnings of something coming to Earth. God, I hope he isn't right. Disappearances have been happening all throughout the world. Unknown hostile entities roam the land. It all leads to signs of an apocalypse scenario. Once again, we are reminded that Thomas shares his memories with another version of himself, through means unknown. There's a lot of things going on, but bear with me, it all makes sense in the end. Alyssa isn't answering her phone either. I'm beginning to think she's gone too. I've done my best to ignore these sounds coming from the attic. That used to be a place of sanctuary for me when I was younger, and now had fallen to nothing more than a possible nest for those things. No word on that thing headed for Earth yet. Don't know whether it's struck or it's still on its way. Frankly, I can't bring myself to care anymore. What I do care about is why I've been hearing my name. It sounds almost like Thomas, but I can't bring myself to go up there and check. There have been multiple mentions of something approaching Earth, and by previous posts that have been made on this account, I can tell you, it isn't an asteroid. There it stood, in the shadow fringes of my mind, a manifestation of events from the past, present, future, and void, playing out all at once, stopping and starting seemingly at random. Next year marks the date of their arrival. At least in another time, it does. The ritual that Thomas and Alyssa performed, it wasn't by them. At least not them. But because it happened in a different time, they still somehow remember it, and even admit to doing it. Thomas saw visions of events he participated in. He even possessed the same robes in which he wore. They are still them, and yet now, whoever they were in this time, they're gone now. They didn't just summon some demon from a stupid Ouija board. They opened a portal to something that will not just make this timeline suffer, but all of them. Whatever mistakes they made, it's now in effect at every possible time, just varied across different years. Whoever is reading this, whatever time you are from, I can't confirm when they are coming. I can't confirm if you're even from a time in which they have come yet. If not, know that they are. At some point in time, they will have invaded every possible outcome in history, and there is nothing you, I, or the rest of humanity can do anything about it. This journal entry right here explains a lot. Not only are we talking time travel, but there are hints of parallel worlds, shared memories through different timelines, and the prophecy that they will keep coming for humanity, regardless of them being in a different universe, solely because someone opened a portal in one timeline out of countless others. On behalf of Thomas, I am writing this as a final goodbye. This wasn't my choice. The very friend that began these entries, and was fueled by an alternative him, and his delusions has since turned into a monster, broken down into nothing more than one of those things. His face, what remains of it, isn't intact anymore, and any form of life in his once blue eyes has become nothing more than a reflection of I Dreamer's gaze. As he breaks down the remainder of barricades I had in front of my door, understand that I will not die ignorant. I uncover the truth. I understand their capabilities. Maybe in a different place, at a different time, I can find out how to stop them too. For now, there is nothing left for me to do now. If I become one of those things myself, I can only hope that it will not be a painful misery. Savor these words. There are no trick-or-treats here. This concludes the October entries, but the story is far from over. By the way Terry was speaking, we know that he was able to glance into other timelines. The only way he could have possibly accomplished this, even though he didn't participate in the ritual, would be because Thomas projected his fear and guilt onto him. We also know the name of the creature that paid humanity a visit in order to drop the guillotine on their heads, and it goes by the name of I Dreamer. This being is later talked about in other posts by Sinisterscrbbles, who explains its existence more thoroughly. I Dreamer, the Shatter Body himself, seething through the blackest of empty spaces and feasting upon the loneliest of stars. He seeds and hungers in a plane that overlooks every possible and non-rational outcome set to that of Earth and planets before and after it. He shimmers, croaks, and calls out to neighboring universes in hopes of one day consuming all of it. His very presence and body is a form even brighter than light itself. Death is not a concept he follows, and destruction of his true form is not a possibility to the imagination. There is no true savior or happiness overlooking us. He acknowledges his existence in this realm, and observes his Ficio's nature as nothing but a mere opportunity and gate to finally guide his influence into times in which he has yet to tread. So he's an overarching evil. How is he related to the TIATA? Well, we know he wants to destroy all life in not just one universe, but all of them. We also know he was lured to Earth by Thomas and Alyssa, who were practicing an unknown ritual. In a later post, the TIATA introduced themselves as an organization that was founded for the sole purpose of proving the existence of alternative times to that of our own, with means they did not explain. One of their most popular expeditions in the name of science was via a particular space exploration, in which all the crew on board died unexpectedly. The culprit, not a voided being, but a sentient race that was corrupted by the claws and influence of Dreamer. This race is called the Mortus astronauts, who were once a race of beings who sought nothing more than to form an alliance with those who inspired them to take to space. Humans. Now live in an eternal cycle of regeneration and decomposition, with no other thought than to inflict torment unto others. Inspired. That word plays a very important part in unlocking the truth behind who the TIATA are and how they are connected to Thomas and Co. Before we connect the dots, I must first show you two of their many tests and experiments. It started with a cough. Within minutes it persisted, soon becoming an uncontrollable fit that sent the man pushing himself up against the rusty decay of the walls he had been surrounded with. The mere sight of their true form, the true form of the voided ones, has brought him to a state of rage that soon escalated into a bodily reaction that would split away at the sides of his mouth, pushing his innards and crimson fluids in favor of a now living, fresh, and hungry organism that proceeded to sprout from the body like a newborn child. His insides would spill out in droves. His cries of pain and wishful thinking for it all to stop were silenced by not only the very thing that had released itself from inside of him upon seeing the truth, but those standing nearby documenting the results of their latest subject, which proved to be effective. Those seated at their desk took notes, accounting for the sudden reaction and traits the reaction had caused. The CEO will be pleased. It is clear their apathetic attitude towards fellow humans, but something that isn't very clear is how this test correlates to time travel. The following is a video that was confiscated from the TIATA by the FBI, involving several missing persons reports. The TIATA is claiming no responsibility for the video or the disappearances. Only a chosen few are actually capable of hearing the audio stored in the file. I sadly do not hear anything. If you do hear something, please describe it in the comment section. Here it comes. Now, for the post that will connect all the dots. Welcome back, honest and loyal TIATA employee. We see you have accessed some classified files containing several pages of notes and scribbles of one of our previous and now terminated employees. Due to the sensitive nature of this information, you may disregard it as the mere thoughts of a madman and nothing more. These manuscripts and findings do not mean anything, nor do they contain any true, honest, or factual information. Sharing this information to anyone outside of the high-end staff may be a violation of our policy, and thus, consequences will be put into action against you. You may ignore this message now and go back to your everyday routine. Please do not disappoint us, for after you receive this message, you will be investigated regarding any information you may also potentially possess. Tom, CEO of the Time Investigation and Travel Agency. The CEO and founder of the TIATA goes by the name of Tom, which is short for Thomas. Coincidence? Not likely. We already know Thomas has the capability to share memories with his other selves through the timelines, thanks to his connection to devoted beings, which he acquired by opening a portal with Alyssa, which led to devoted ones being called to Earth for total destruction. We also know that iDreamer doesn't tolerate anyone from knowing too much, and because of this, he punishes many sentient races, including the Mortus astronauts. If he is so strict, why hasn't he stopped the TIATA? Clearly they know more than they let on. The answer to that is simple. Because there was a version of Thomas who gained the memories of a distant self and decided to fund his organization. The same Thomas then proceeded to research and explore space in order to find a way to avoid devoted beings. This is when they met and influenced the Mortus astronauts, shortly before creating what they were seeking: interdimensional travel. This newfound invention led them into avoiding devoted beings' sight by jumping into a different timeline when danger approaches. Remember, it is stated that iDreamer arrives at different times. This could explain how this Thomas was capable of achieving all of this before getting caught, because his timeline was far enough that it gave him enough time. We know that it takes iDreamer quite a while to consume an entire universe. This theory is further solidified by the fact that iDreamer likes to be through with his destruction. He can only destroy one universe at a time, which is why he sends proxies. These proxies serve as scouts. They consist of his own spawns and other voided beings under his control. Why would they need to scout multiple timelines if he is bound to destroy them all at one point? And the answer to that is because there is a human with the capability to escape every time iDreamer draws near. I'm sure Thomas couldn't have possibly lived long enough to achieve all of this, which means that at some point through testing on living things, he managed to find a way to extend his life. If this is true, then that means he isn't going to stop at just running away for all eternity. He must have some other plans which involve experimenting on humans and other beings alike. As to what his goals for the future are, remain to be seen. We'll have to pay close attention to any new post. This was a fun and long video. The story played just like an ARG, although there is the question as to how this thread was posted and viewed by multiple timelines remains. It overall has a very entertaining writing and art style which I am more than pleased with. I recommend you guys check his Instagram page out at Sinisterscrbbles. Also add mine. It has the same name as my channel. If you guys think I should cover ARGs in the future, let me know. Make sure to subscribe for more spooky content. And as usual, this has been your host, Ancient Horror, and I wish you some exhilarating nightmares.